I uninvited the bridesmaid who thought the wedding was hers. I used to think generosity was something you could never misuse. I was wrong. When my friend announced her wedding, none of us expected to be included in the way she included us. She paid for everything. The dresses, the fittings, the events. All she asked was that we show up and stand beside her. At first, it felt like a dream. Then one bridesmaid started acting like it was a transaction. She expected rides, she expected gifts, she expected access. She talked about the wedding like it was a prize she had won. And slowly, she stopped asking and started assuming. Before plans were even finalized, she spoke about spa days, trips, and luxury weekends as if they were guaranteed. When we tried to plan something ourselves, she dismissed it. She said it wasn't good enough, not classy enough, not worthy of the bride. She wanted a say in the dress. She wanted to attend fittings. She wanted to supervise. She wanted to be seen. When the rest of us stopped engaging, she accused us of excluding her. When she wasn't consulted, she showed up anyway, waiting, watching, keeping score. The breaking point came quietly, in a room full of mirrors and handmade gowns. She didn't like her dress. She didn't like her placement. She didn't like that someone else had something she didn't. She said the bride was being used. She said we were manipulating her. She said she deserved better. And she didn't stop. The bride cried. The room froze. And finally, someone said what needed to be said. She was out of the wedding. Not because of jealousy, not because of drama, but because she forgot that being invited is not ownership. She left angry, she left loud, she left convinced she was the victim. The wedding went on without her. It was calm, joyful, exactly as it was meant to be. She lost the invitation, then the access, then the friends, because generosity is not something you consume, and love is not something you compete for. She thought the wedding belonged to her, so she was uninvited. I uninvited one person who forgot this wasn't her moment. The next story is about someone else who couldn't accept being told no.
What happens when you uninvite someone who was helping you? I grew up watching my family survive because of one person's sacrifice. My mother believed education was the only way out. She sent siblings to school. She paid for nieces and nephews. She gave until giving felt normal. Some people called it generosity. Others treated it like entitlement. My sister saw it first. She questioned why support never came with accountability. She questioned why gratitude was optional. When the arguments became unbearable, she left. She built her life without help. Years later, they made peace. Not perfect, but better. When our mother died, my sister quietly stepped in. She handled arrangements, she handled paperwork, and without telling anyone, she continued the financial support our mother had provided for years. Last Christmas, we visited family overseas. Dinner started politely. Condolences were offered. Then judgment followed. My aunt spoke about obedience, about femininity, about how my sister had failed as a daughter. She spoke about God's plan. She spoke without knowing who had been paying her bills. My sister listened. Then she asked questions about wasted opportunities, about choices made with someone else's money. The room shifted. My aunt exploded. She shouted about respect, about ownership, about not needing anything from anyone. She told us to leave. She made it very clear. My sister smiled. She asked once more to be certain. She received the same answer. That night, the transfers stopped. Nothing dramatic followed. No announcement, no confrontation. Just silence where money used to be. Weeks later, reality arrived. Bills became problems. Savings disappeared faster than expected. My sister was surprised by how quickly it happened. Math, apparently, doesn't care about pride. She didn't touch the child's education fund. Some lines still mattered to her. She didn't celebrate, she didn't gloat. She simply accepted what had been decided for her. Sometimes people end their own support. All they have to do is say they don't need it.
Loss doesn't always bring people together. Sometimes it reveals who believes they deserve what was never theirs. Entitled to her things, not her grief. When my mother died, there was no dramatic reading of a will. There was just silence, an empty house, and a phone call that arrived in a different country at a different hour of the night. I was 19. I was studying overseas. My father was never around, and I had no siblings. It had always been just us. When she was gone, everything she left behind became my responsibility. For months, the house stayed untouched. I couldn't face it. I didn't know what to keep, what to sell, or what I was even allowed to grieve first. I thought time would help. Instead, the phone calls started. Neighbors, strangers' voices telling me someone was inside the house, loading things into a car, taking boxes out at night. It was my aunt, my mother's older sister. She didn't ask, she didn't wait, she decided. When I changed the locks, the family turned on me. My grandmother said I was cruel. My aunt said I was selfish. They said I was punishing family during a time of loss. No one asked how I was surviving alone in another country without my mother. Eventually, I flew back, not to mourn, to clean up what was left behind. I packed slowly. Every object felt heavy. Clothes, photographs, furniture that still smelled like her perfume. I wasn't ready to sell anything. I wasn't ready to let go of the last proof that she existed. My aunt didn't care. She showed up with her car, then with a rented van. She took clothes, childhood toys, small furniture, then larger pieces. Each time she said the same thing. That was mine once. I gave it to your mother. You're heartless for keeping it. I didn't fight her. I was too tired, too sad, too alone. Years passed. I stayed abroad. I paid for a storage unit I couldn't really afford, because letting go felt like another death. Eventually, reality caught up. I couldn't keep paying forever. So I made a decision. I would sell some items. Not all, just enough to stop bleeding money every month. I mentioned it once during a phone call. I didn't think much of it. That was my mistake. The message arrived from my cousin. Long, carefully written, polite on the surface, sharp underneath. She told me her mother had sacrificed, that she had flown back and forth to help when my mom was sick, that I should be grateful, that gratitude should look like giving her mother whatever she wanted, regardless of ownership, regardless of boundaries. She suggested I let my aunt take everything first, then sell whatever remained, and give her mother the money, to repay funeral costs, to repay emotional labor, to prove I valued family more than money. I read it, over and over, waiting to feel guilt, waiting to feel shame. What I felt instead was clarity. My mother's life was not a communal asset. Her death was not a transaction. Care given out of choice was not a debt to be collected later. I didn't respond immediately. I needed time to understand what they were really asking. They weren't asking for help. They were asking to be rewarded for showing up, to rewrite generosity as leverage. I told them no, simply, without apology. The fallout was immediate. Family stopped calling. Messages went unanswered. Stories were rewritten to paint me as greedy, cold, ungrateful. I let them.
What they never understood was that I wasn't protecting objects. I was protecting the last boundary my mother ever gave me. I sold what I could. I kept what mattered. I let go on my terms. Now, years later, I still live far away. I still miss her. I still carry her in small things. A recipe, a phrase, a habit I didn't realize was hers until she was gone. My family remains divided. I don't chase repair that requires surrender. I don't negotiate grief. Some people believe inheritance is about money. I learned it's about who thinks they're entitled to your loss.